Welcome, everyone. The Marijuana Time Show. February 14th, 2018. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there from the Marijuana Times. Thank you to everybody who watches the show. My name is Joe Clare. You can find myself and many other great writers over at marijuanatimes.org writing about all of the issues that you care about when it comes to cannabis. Also, you can find these videos every episode of the show. Share with your social media. We would certainly appreciate that. It helps us spread the truth about cannabis. Also, make sure you search Apple Podcasts for the show, the Marijuana Times Show. Give us a rating, a comment, anything you can to help us along. If you're watching the videos, like, share, comment, all that stuff. You're internet pros, you're internet savvy, you know what it takes to expand the reach of these videos, which in turn expands the reach of the truth about cannabis. So do your part and share today and like and comment today and all of that. You get a poster that says all that. Today we got stories about what is going on in Florida when it comes to recreational marijuana. Talked some about that last week. Talk more about it today. Also, I'm going to play you a little bit of a video from a press conference earlier today. Basically, Jeff Sessions and the federal government are being sued over the constitutionality of marijuana prohibition. And there was a press conference today. There's a hearing today about that. Excuse me. I found a video. The audio is not great on the video. It's the only video I could find on YouTube at this early juncture, just a few hours after the press conference. It's a cell phone video by someone there, posted and live streamed on YouTube. We'll play a little bit of that. It's 31 minutes long. Obviously, we're not going to play the whole thing. Also, we're going to talk about Cory Gardner, Republican from Colorado, and how he is ticking off Jeff Sessions. That's right, Jeff Sessions is not a fan of Cory Gardner, which means that we here at the Marijuana Times are a fan of Cory Gardner. We're going to talk about all that coming up. But first, I have to tell you, of course, the Marijuana Times Show is brought to you by NatureSideCannabis.com. Organic, all-natural pesticides. The NatureSide line is all-natural pesticide products. They're developed and proven by pest control professionals and cultivators to provide the confidence and security that professional cultivators and regulatory bodies demand. NatureSide products are on the approved list for use in cultivation of marijuana by the Colorado, Washington, and Oregon State Agricultural Departments. You don't use harmful chemicals. You want to grow safe and poison-free, and you want to be regulatory compliant. If you're a cannabis cultivator, that means you want to go to NatureSideCannabis.com and find their expertise in their line of all-natural pesticide products. They are a proud sponsor of the Marijuana Times Show, of course. So go check them out because they're not only are they smart with their line of pesticide products, they're smart with the shows that they sponsor. I know that sounded like a brag, and it was. Cut me some slack. Give me a little bit. I'm trying here. Our first story is from MarijuanaTimes.org from Julia Granowitz. Florida voters likely to approve recreational cannabis if it reaches the ballot. Last week, you may remember, if you're a regular listener and watcher of the show, we talked about the fact that Regulate Florida, the group trying to get recreational marijuana on the ballot in November of 2018, fell far, far short of the signatures needed. They got about 40,000. They need over 750,000 valid signatures. So that didn't work out. They need a lot more money to get a lot more signatures. The story by Julia shows a new poll conducted by the University of North Florida shows that 62% of Floridian voters would back a state law regulating marijuana like alcohol, aka recreational legalization. A 2016 Quinnipiac University poll found that the favorable rating was only 56%, much like the medical marijuana amendment for recreational marijuana to pass. Apparently, they're going to need 60% in Florida. She also points out over the next couple of years that there will definitely be an increase in that support if, of course, activists in Florida are doing their job and they follow the national trend. It shouldn't be that hard this day and age to get your poll numbers for recreational marijuana up because they're climbing all over the country among all age groups, all political demographics, all of that. So hopefully in a couple of years, they'll have a bit more of a cushion above that 62% for recreational marijuana legalization in Florida. And hopefully they can get it on the ballot. If you're in Florida, get to fundraising. They're going to need money. They're going to need money for the signatures. They're going to need money for ads and for the campaign and all that. Florida is a huge, huge state population-wise and size-wise. So they're going to need a lot of money to get these some 766,000 valid signatures that they are going to need, excuse me, in Florida. Earlier today, in front of Judge Alvin K. Hellerstein, the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York. There were oral arguments on the federal government's motion to dismiss Washington et al. Versus Sessions et al., a federal lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of cannabis's classification under the Controlled Substances Act. Try saying that 5 times fast. Immediately following the hearing, plaintiffs and their counsel held a press conference outside the Worth Street entrance. Some of the plaintiffs include former NFL player Marvin Washington, 11-year-old Alexis Bortel, whose family moved from Colorado from Texas, so she could get the medical cannabis she needs to help with her multiple daily life-threatening seizures that she used to have and does not have anymore because of cannabis. Also, 7-year-old Jagger Cody of Georgia, who suffers from Lay's disease and who's prolonged his life by 2 years beyond his maximum prognosis thanks to medical cannabis. Also, disabled military combat veteran Jose Belen and the Cannabis Cultural Association. They're all members of the suit. And by this press conference and all reports, from what I've heard, the judge was very receptive to the argument that people are helped by medical marijuana, which is a good sign. This is a video from YouTube from a live stream earlier today from DC 420. They live streamed the press conference. The audio is not great. We'll do a little bit of it and then get into a little bit of it with the appropriate commentary for the press conference. This is from YouTube from earlier today. Make sure we move up a little bit.
Hi. All right.
They had problems with the audio early on. So.
Go ahead.
It's not on.
Mike's not on.
Okay? Yeah. All right.
I finally need to stretch out.
So, for those of you who are not inside the courtroom, the court considered the government's motion dismissed today. As far as the plaintiffs are concerned, as far as the families who are most impacted by this case, we are thrilled that we have a judge in this case who has taken the time to focus on the issues, to ask probing questions, and has demonstrated a commitment to get the answer to this question right. And from our perspective, we know the right answer already. That's why we brought the case. And we are confident that we're going to have an outcome here which generates the result that we've all been waiting for over 48 years. And that is that the Controlled Substances Act, as it pertains to the classification of cannabis, will be declared unconstitutional. We hope it will be with this court. We are certainly heartened by the manner in which the judge focused on the issues. We obviously can't predict what the outcome will be, but one thing we're certain of is that whatever the outcome, the judge will spend time to get it right. And we are genuinely hopeful that we will get it right from our perspective, and that we're going to get an outcome that, like I said, liberates the people who, for the last 48 years, have been suffering from real oppression, not being able to get the medicines that they need. Today, in court, were Alexis Bortel's parents, Dean and Liza Bortel. Alexis Bortel suffers from a condition called intractable epilepsy. It's a condition that for 14 consecutive months, beginning at age 7, was destroying her life. She was having multiple seizures per day. She was having multiple hospitalizations, and it was simply destroying her life. She was given a choice, and the choice was either experimental brain surgery, where part of the left side of her brain would be removed, or medical cannabis. Her doctors gave her that choice and suggested the cannabis, because if you get a piece of your brain removed and it doesn't work, there's no going back. And what's amazing is, since she's been on a regimen of medical cannabis, with THC, she has not had a seizure in almost 3 years. She went from
She has not had a seizure in almost 3 years. Again, apologies about the audio. There's a stream from like a cell phone and there's all the background noise and all that. But imagine being a parent, like the parents of Alexis Bortel. You see your daughter suffering immensely from multiple seizures every day. She has a horrible quality of life. And imagine now being told that you are not allowed to give your child medical cannabis, that you are considered a criminal if you give your child medical cannabis. Imagine being a parent and being given that choice. And what parent wouldn't run the risk of being a criminal to when you're left with the choice between, hey, medical cannabis or B, getting a part of your child's brain removed? Who wouldn't make that choice for medical cannabis? I don't think there's a parent out there. And if you are a parent out there that wouldn't make that choice and give your child the medical cannabis, she hasn't had a seizure in almost 3 years. If you would make that choice, well, I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm not going to comment on a parent who wouldn't do that. The point is that these people are considered criminals because they made that choice. They were considered criminals in Texas. They're still considered criminals by the federal government. Hence, one of the reasons behind this lawsuit against the federal government. But they had to pick up their family and move to Colorado just to get their child the medicine they need, that she needs to have a quality of life, a better quality of life, any kind of quality of life, because they lived in the wrong state. They lived in Texas and they had to move to Colorado. Of course, Marijuana Times will bring you more on that case, the press conference. Hopefully, we can get some people involved in the case here on the Marijuana Times Show. Keep you up to date on all of that on marijuanatimes.org. Of course, last but not least, story from DenverPost.com. Cory Gardner's siege of the Justice Department over marijuana enters its second month. That's right. It's been a month since the pot blockade began, and U.S. Senator Cory Gardner is standing firm in his vow to jam all appointments to the Department of Justice until Attorney General Jeff Sessions softens his stance on marijuana. So far, a siege to protect both Colorado's cannabis industry and the state's sovereignty has prevented as many as 11 nominees from getting a Senate floor vote, the last major step before they can start work. And there is little indication that Gardner, a Republican from Colorado, and Sessions are any closer to finding common ground. It may never resolve itself, said U.S. Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican from Iowa, who chairs the committee in charge of getting these nominees to the floor. If that happens, the consequences could extend far beyond the 11 nominees Gardner has put on ice. And there's more than 20 other candidates in the congressional pipeline for justice-related jobs, and that doesn't count all of the other ones. It'll count all of the other ones that'll be nominated by Donald Trump in the coming months. As this impasse continues, then there's going to be a lot of problems. Now, Chuck Canterbury, president of the National Fraternal Order of Police, said, quote, Senator Gardner does a real disservice to the nation as a whole, and we urgently ask him to reconsider his rash and ill-advised obstructionism. Policy differences should be worked out by dialogue and not turn into hostage situations. Well, if the dialogue doesn't work, I guess you have to use what's at your disposal, and that's what Senator Gardner from Colorado is doing. He's using the tools at his disposal to get Jeff Sessions to reverse this decision and leave the Cole memo intact. Of course, as we've said many times on this show, the best thing is for Congress to get their act together and repeal federal marijuana prohibition. And if that's not going to work, well, you have to fight with what you have. Cory Gardner's not doing anything illegal. If he was, he wouldn't be allowed to do it. He's a congressman. It'd be pretty obvious if him doing this was illegal. He's live on C-SPAN. There's stories about it. If he was doing something wrong and something could be reversed, they wouldn't be talking about it and blaming him for ill-advised obstructionism. So he's using legal tools at his disposal. And if you're a senator from the state of Colorado and you want to protect your state's laws, isn't that what you're supposed to do? I mean, Senator Gardner is not beholden to Jeff Sessions. He's beholden to the voters of Colorado, rather. I'll get it. One of these days. He's a Republican from Colorado. Those voters are who he answers to. He doesn't answer to Jeff Sessions or Donald Trump or the Department of Justice or Chuck Grassley or the Senate Majority Leader or anybody, but the voters of Colorado, and he's standing up for their rights and for what they voted for. And Jeff Sessions doesn't like him, so it means he's a good guy in my book. I don't know all his policy positions, but I know on this issue, him and I are on the same page. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out here at the Marijuana Times Show. Make sure you check out Facebook and YouTube and marijuanatimes.org, of course, for these videos. Apple Podcasts, excuse me, for the audio podcast, the audio version of the show for those of you on the go. Thanks, everybody, for listening and watching and liking and sharing. Thank you to NatureSideCannabis.com for being an awesome sponsor with their line of all natural organic pesticide products for your cannabis cultivation. Thank you all for listening and watching the Marijuana Times Show, and we will see you next time.